Good morning. I woke with a story that I wanted to tell you. It's very much connected to the themes that we've been talking about in our groups around self-love. In the year 2000, I went to Australia and I lived in a forest hermitage at Waputadama in the middle of the Darug National Park. I was 2.5 hours away from Sydney and I was surrounded by 3 other national parks, so I was in the middle of about a million acres of wilderness. And when I was there, I met this man by the name of Max. And when I met Max was bright and very luminous and had this very clear, radiant quality about him. And I came to love Max and just was very touched by his story, and so I want to share his story with you. Max was one of these super genius people. He was a computer software designer, an engineer, a builder, and he had designed this computer software system that would interface with some kind of a mechanical system in order to turn solar panels and have them be aligned with the sun. So he designed a motorboat that was going to be solar paneled and have the solar panels shift in relationship to where the sun was. And it took him a huge amount of effort to design this and to build this boat. And he did this in preparation for the Sydney Olympics in 2000. And so the year preceding this was one of those monster years where he was working, 15, 16, 18-hour days. And he got it done, and he was pleased, and it worked, which was a miracle. And he was also a very strong meditation practitioner, and so was very much interested in a very long-awaited retreat. So south of Sydney is a temple called the Wollongong Temple, and it's a Mahayana temple, and they have monks and nuns that live there, and what they do for their 10-day retreat is they invite people to come and have temporary ordination. So for 10 days, they take ordination, they shave their hair, they take on robes, they take the precepts, they take the bodhisattva vows, and they live as a monastic. And Max was very, very eager to do this. So he did, and it was very powerful and very meaningful. And at the end of the 10 days, he handed back his precepts except for his bodhisattva vows, and he returned the robes, and his wife Daphne came and picked him up, and before they left the Wollongong Temple, he needed to use the restroom and relieve himself, and he went to the toilet, and there was blood everywhere. So they went to the emergency room and had extensive tests, and it turns out Max had very late-stage renal cancer, and the doctors gave him 3 weeks to live. So Max was pondering this, what do you do? You've got 3 weeks to live. What's important? None of us know from one day to the next how long our life is going to be. And in Max's situation, that reality was driven home by a medical diagnosis that was really compelling. So Max's super genius was not only his intellect, but his heart. And what he realized was that the only really important thing at that point was to convey to his family and his friends how much he loved them. And the single most important thing that was going to help him do that was if he loved himself. And something between the imminence of his demise, the power of his virtue. It was a huge shift, and he dropped in to a state of love where he knew that is who and what he was. So when I met him in the year 2000, the cancer had spread everywhere. It was in his spine, it was in his bones, it was in his organs, it was in his heart, it was in his brain. And he was absolutely luminous, radiant, bright. And everybody loved hanging out with Max. The orderlies in the hospital, people in the gas station, the supermarket attendants, because Max emanated a peace, a radiance, a quality of love that was completely beyond the circumstances of what was going on in the immediate present. And Max did not die in 3 weeks. It was as if his body started functioning in a way that nobody could ever figure out. He would go in for scans, and the scans were horrendous. The cancer was everywhere. And the doctor would say, if anybody else came into a scan, with a scan like this, we'd say, you've got 3 days to live maximum. But Max, we don't understand what's happening with you, but something is happening. Go home and come back in 3 months. It was as if his physiology was organized by love rather than what it is ordinarily organized by. So I tell this story because with Max, it begs the question, what is it gonna take? What is it gonna take for us to love ourselves fully, completely, just the way we are? So I offer this question as a real, genuine question. What is it going to take? And an invitation that we bring together those conditions before we are in the situation that Max was in, which he was told all he had was 3 weeks to live. Bye for now.